Hey y'all, hey. This is the Hot Girls Healing Podcast, and I am your host, Salenna Green. Today we are, look, I did not create this platform to be fake with y'all. Today is going to be a little bit of a hard one for me, just because I am still working on this. And today's topic is healing the father wound. I am joined by another podcaster, a wonderful community member, and a seemingly like chill and good dude, David. I am grateful to have you here. Y'all, David had me on his podcast before, so go check out Seattle Connected Podcast if you haven't already. It's a really good podcast, and I was actually really grateful to be on there. If you're in the Seattle area, you probably know about his show and you know somebody who's been on it. So check that out. David, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself to the people, and then we just gonna get right in it to get through it.
All right, let's do it. Thank you, Salenna. Thank you for the warm welcome. Yes, I am David Jackson, host of Seattle Connected podcast. Seattle Connected was created to highlight our stories and share our visions for just not only our culture, but what we bring to society in the Seattle area. And so I kind of got tired of waiting for others to tell our stories. So I said, who better than to tell our stories than the actual people, right? We're making history. We're doing our thing. So I was gracious enough to have Salenna bless the show earlier this year. It was an amazing time. And I always say, oh, we got to run that back. You know, there's only so much you can cover in an episode, but that just means we got to have another episode. So yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that. And please, anyone out there watching this and always watching her show, always support. Tell a friend to tell a friend. But if any of you want to check me out, please do reach out, send an email, or just say, hey, I appreciate the love. I'll continue to do this as long as you guys continue to support. So thank you.
Yes, and y'all continue to support him because the space that he's holding and the space that he has created is so needed for our community, and it's so valuable in our community and genuine to our community. Right? That's the whole point. That's the platform. So definitely check out Seattle Connected Podcast and support David in everything that he's doing.
Okay.
Y'all. Now, like I said, healing the father wound. I am not the expert on how to heal the father wound. I am the expert on how to have daddy issues.
Yeah.
No, I actually would say that I am an expert in my own experience in healing my father wound. So I just want to put out the disclaimer for this episode in particular that everything that I am saying, all the advice that I'm offering and the experiences that I am speaking to are mine and have worked for me. I'm putting this out here. As always, you know, this conversation is an offering to the community. And I hope that someone who relates to what I am saying, what David is saying, hears this and gets something that they need. One of the things I actually recently learned about in some training that I was doing this week, because whatever field you're in, y'all, continuous training, always important, was I was learning about peer counseling. And I kind of feel like that's a little bit of what this conversation is going to be. Like, peer counseling is just you speaking to your experiences with a peer who is someone who has a shared experience with you. I think in this instance, our shared experience is that we both have fathers, right? There was a guy involved with both of us being alive. Right. And that is our shared experience here. I don't even know, y'all. I don't know what David's experience is with his father. I don't know what his experience is with fatherhood. I'm going to be finding out a lot about David with y'all. David's going to be finding out a lot about me with y'all. And I think that is kind of what makes this a peer counseling situation, which is super cute, because we're about to learn from each other. We're going to get tools from each other and be able to lean on each other and have some community in this. So when it comes to healing the father wound, what does that mean to you? What is your understanding of the father wound and what or how it's created?
Whew. Healing the father wound, I think that comes with understanding. I think it comes with being in a space where you can say, whatever my situation was with my father, I have to be able to deal with uncomfortable situations. I have to be ready for, whatever's in that box. If I open that box, all right, I might find the answers I'm looking for, but I got to be prepared if I don't find the answers I'm looking for. I find family secrets or anything like that. So part of the healing part, right? Just like if you take a band-aid off, you have to be ready to let that wound heal, but it might hurt peeling off that band-aid. Some people pull it off slow, some people do it fast, but you have to be ready for the sour with the sweet, right?
Yeah.
So I think going into that, you just have to be ready. You have to be strong enough, because a lot of time don't we kind of back away from certain situations in our lives and certain relationships because we know there might be even more pain on top of the pain that we already experienced. So you
Mm.
have to prepare yourself mentally and emotionally for that. Am I ready? Because this might be worse than I thought. You know what? No, I'm good. I'm not even going to go down that road. I'm going to keep things the way they are in the dark, or if you want to say under the bed, and it is what it is. But I think part of that healing process is being comfortable to deal with what's uncomfortable.
Mm. That's real. Yeah, I honestly hear that and feel it. And I honestly would even add to that, like, what I didn't expect was that when I pulled off the band-aid, that like some of the scab that I had developed over the wound would come off with the band-aid too.
Mm,
So it's like not only am I not where I was, but I'm like digressed,
yeah,
you know, to a place where I thought I had healed past.
yeah.
The reality that I found was that like I had not actually healed that. I had just put some coping mechanisms over
Mm,
it, which were the
yeah.
scab that then got pulled off with the band.
Mm, that's true.
So
True.
yeah, the reality, like taking stock of that reality, and building awareness, I think, yeah, that's that first step. Because for me, I didn't even think I really had a father wound. Like
Mm,
I knew that I didn't have a great relationship with my dad, but like I knew who he was. You know what I mean? Like there was no mystery there. Like I know the guy.
yeah.
He comes around every once in a while. Like I know why he's not good for the family.
Mm,
I grew up with a parent who was struggling with addiction and was, a victim essentially to the war on drugs. Now, did I, as an elementary school kid, know that? No, no, I did not. I just knew that that my dad would come around every once in a while, and when he did, everyone got really upset, and I didn't like that. So then I began to be like, oh, like this is just a person that is not going to be a part of my life. And
mm,
so sometimes I think when your father wound is one that has had so much time to have that scab build over it before you even start to do the healing, before you acknowledge that there's anything to heal, it can be hard.
yeah.
And that's just speaking to my own experience as someone who never really got even the opportunity to build a healthy relationship with my dad.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. That's deep, Selena, and I'll tell you and your um, followers. My situation is different because my father passed away
Mm.
before I could remember. So my father passed away from cancer when I was almost 18 months exactly,
Oh my
right?
gosh.
So my experience with the father was limited to photographs, stories, and my imagination. My
Wow.
imagination just running wild, saying, well, my father would have been like this. Would he have looked like this? What would he have thought in this situation?
Mm.
So for a long time, I kind of had resentment because I felt like in my neighborhood, there was a lot going on and a lot that I had to experience without a father.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my mother, rest in peace, she was a superhero. She always did what she could as far as making sure that my brother and I were raised right. We always felt loved. No matter if we didn't have a lot of money, we still felt loved. We felt accepted. We felt supported.
Mm-hmm.
But there was still that missing piece. So for me, because my mom wasn't one of those kind of women to serial date or just, hey, this is your new dad, or this is your,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately there's situations where, people are like that. That's their
Mm-hmm.
business, but she wasn't. So part of me resented growing up without a father, and I looked for people to blame. I looked for, well, why did my dad have to die?
Mm-hmm.
Why am I without a father? So then that carried on to, uncles that I had. Well, why wasn't this uncle more involved? He saw that I was growing up without a father. He knew my challenges. Why wasn't he around? Why didn't he step up? Why didn't my eldest brother, who went through his own situations out there, which I resented for a long time until I realized he was going through his own struggles.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, it was better that he wasn't around than to be around knowing that he couldn't be that role model that I needed.
Mm-hmm.
So I used all those elements to kind of resent not only me not having a father, but I resented those who had fathers in their life and they hated them because they didn't buy them the newest Jordans or the latest video game and
Mm-hmm.
trivial stuff like that. And I'm like, yo, you know how many times I wish I could have had those memories with a father, not just a male presence, but someone who's going to take the time and give me that knowledge that I need and check me when I'm out of place. So I started to resent those who had what I didn't have. You know how we could
Yeah.
sometime when we were younger. Oh, she got the new such and such. Oh, she thinks she better this and that. Mine's wasn't materialistic. It was like, look, you have an amazing thing in your life that can't be bought. It can't be replaced. And
Mm-hmm.
I tell people that to this day. If you have a healthy relationship with your mother, father, if you have an aunt, uncle who, was that guidance for you, cherish it.
Yeah.
Don't look at what you don't have, be blessed on what you do have. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you can spend all day looking at opportunities that you might have missed or why am I not at this point in my professional career or personal relationships, but don't get caught up in what you don't have, focus on what you do. I had to become an adult for me to realize that everybody you meet isn't your friend. You
Mm-hmm.
remember when we were in school, right? And you're like, that's my friend, that's my friend, that's my friend, right? You had 30 kids in the class, that's my friend, right? And so the older you got, that circle got smaller. But as
Mm-hmm.
time went on, I realized that doesn't have to be a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Everything doesn't have to be based on quantity. It has to be based on quality, right? Or it
Yeah.
should be. So
Yeah.
I would rather have 4 people, 5 people I can really count on than 15 people just to say, hey, all these people got my back. But when I need them, no one's
Yeah.
responding. You
Yeah.
know, no one's responding. So growing up, I had to realize, look, my father's not around. My mother never remarried. It is what it is, right? But I can't let that deter me from trying to be a better man. And then when I become a father, I can't use that for an excuse to not be a good father. I'm
Yeah.
sorry to talk your ear off, but
No,
yeah,
no, that's all like I feel like you went through like an entire like cycle almost of
yeah,
how you broke a generational curse.
yeah,
Um and I love what I heard from you. Like it felt really relatable. The part where you're talking about this resentment that is built. And
yeah,
if I may speak to the way that that relates to my experience, it was built young. Like that
yeah,
resentment started building up pretty young. Like as
yeah,
soon as you as a kid start to feel where that lack is and you start to notice that lack, I think that's where the resentment also starts to build in.
Right.
My mother also never remarried. She had 10 daughters, so that was kind of her
10. Oh wow.
rationale. She was
Yeah.
like, well, this is a lot. So she had 12 kids with my dad before they really pulled the plug on that situation. Um and so that experience of growing up without a dad and then seeing other people have it, it's wild. And it's wild how the experience that you have with the dad or the lack of experience you have with your dad will shape how that experience works.
Yeah.
Because when I was growing up and I was seeing my dad struggle with addiction, I mean, that's the phrasing that I have. That's the framing that I have on that situation now. That was not the framing. Struggle with addiction was not the framing that I had growing up. But when I saw him be this huge disturbance, I should say, to our household, I really just started building a lot of resentment towards him.
Mm.
And I would just be like, why can't he act right? Why can't he be consistent? Why can't he, show up in the way that I need him or my siblings need him or my mom / his wife seems to need him? Like, why are these things not happening? And
Mm.
then I used to just be like, well, I'm glad I don't have that. I'm glad I don't have to deal with the inconvenience of an extra person in my already chaotic ass household.
Yeah.
Just
Mm.
adding to the chaos. So
Well,
I really think that it became like this resentment was like built in me, and I maybe took it into relationships that I had. I built resentment against my aunts and uncles. Well, where were they? Where
yeah.
were the parents? Where were the parents? My grandparents, where were they? I had one grandpa that I ever really knew.
Yeah.
But I know that there had to be at least 3 other grandparents somewhere in the world at some point.
Right.
I don't know where they was or what they were doing when I was, experiencing a lot of hardships in my life. And it was
Mm.
like compounding resentment that by the time I really was like, okay, well, who really was my dad? How actually did he end up being the person that he was by the time I got to know him? Once
Mm.
I started to actually ask myself those questions and explore them, just like you said, I didn't only find what I wanted to find.
Mm.
There was
Yeah.
so much more to the story that I didn't know.
Yeah. And Selena, I think, almost like there's fairy tales, there's Disney scene type of pictures that we want to paint in our head, right? Like if my dad was around, everything would be great, everything's perfect, one big happy family, right? And so we never think about the backstory. We
Mm-hmm.
never think about, the origin story, the prequel to what we're watching. And
Yeah.
so sometimes we get so caught up in our own stuff that we don't look at that person's stuff.
Yeah.
And we can cuss, right? Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
All
Yes.
right, sorry. All right. So we don't look at our own shit, right? But
Yeah.
we don't think this person had a life too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this person had their own healing that they needed to do. So do I need to look down on that person because they weren't everything that I wanted?
Right.
Or should I think about if they're going through some shit too, maybe they need to heal on their own. Maybe it's best that they're not around me.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, they were too embarrassed. Maybe they just knowing if I could forgive them, maybe that would make their whole year like those are the things we don't think about because
Mm-hmm.
it's easy to be caught up in your feelings, right?
Oh,
I'm hurt.
absolutely.
I'm offended. I'm pissed. People need to check on me. What the fuck? Like, it's easy to feel that way. And at the same time, we would want that forgiveness from others, right?
Yeah.
So and I'll tell you this. I reconnected with my elder siblings, and we all had the same dad.
Mm-hmm.
So I reconnected with my elder siblings, and our relationship wasn't perfect when I was a kid because they weren't instrumental in my life the way that I wanted them to be. So when I got older, I just thought about what I was saying earlier, which we shouldn't do, I didn't have this, and this.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't look at why they felt like they couldn't or shouldn't be in my life providing those things.
Mm-hmm.
When I became an adult, I realized they had their own shit going on.
Yeah.
They had their own shit, and they were looking at it from the opposite. Like, I know I can't be what I need to be for David. I'm not going to bring my stuff into his life. I still love and respect my baby brother enough to know that I'm not in a place where I should be to be involved in his life. I
Yeah.
didn't look at that side. I didn't
And
look at that side.
sometimes
It-
it's not available to you, for a while.
right. And so for that, I had to take a step back and realize that they needed to heal. They needed to heal. And I had to give them so much respect for being able to heal, come forward, and say that to me. And it
Yeah.
really made me step out of my own shoes and say, well, damn, I'm not the only one hurt.
Ain't
You know,
that hard?
I'm not the
No,
only,
that is
listen.
that part. The I'm not the only one hurt part is so hard to hold space for, because David, the way I was like, I had this ball of blame from my childhood. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, this is all the blame from my childhood. And I was like,
Yep.
okay, so I want to give it to y'all, my parents.
Yep.
And then when I started asking myself those questions about, like, how did they get here? What happened? And then I was like, well, actually, hold on, I'm giving this to y'all's parents. And then when I started learning more about my ancestors and what and I was like, okay, y'all's parents? The government? Who do I give
Yeah.
this blame ball to?
Right. Yeah.
And then I just dropped it. And I said, you know what? I'm going to stop trying to give that to somebody. And I'm going to just focus on my healing because everybody was failed. They just weren't able to break that generational curse, that particular one that I also had to experience. And I don't need to blame them or their parents or and I don't need to go all the way up the line of my ancestors
Right.
to
Yeah.
find the one person back in the village who started all this.
Yeah. Everybody's getting called out. You. I never met you two, the neighbor, that guy who took my uncle out for the drink, and then you know what? Everybody's getting it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You would run yourself ragged trying to find the right person to blame for it. So
Yeah.
while I don't absolve, my dad from, decisions that he did make and, things that he did do. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course, like, he did negatively affect his kids. That is the truth. But what I can do is take my power back from that situation. I don't need to hate him, is what I've come to find. I don't need to hate him or any other person that's wronged me. And that was where I was able to find that truth in, the forgiveness is for you part. Like, have you heard, they be saying that. They even said it in, like, Medea movies. So, they be saying it. But forgiveness really is for you. Like,
Yeah.
forgiveness really is for you.
Yeah.
It frees something up in you when you release the need to punish somebody for what they did for you. And I think for me, I wanted to punish him for not being the dad that I needed him to be.
Salenna, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no.
No, I have a question for you. How were you able to not hold the feelings that you had about your father against other males in your life in general?
Well, one, I had to be cognizant of the fact that I was. Like, I didn't hold space for men very much in my life, just because I hadn't seen them be of much use. Like, as a Virgo, I'm about efficiency. So I'm like, if I can get the job done with the people that I already have in my life, like, why do I even need to open myself up to anyone else? But, that was really just hurt and fear talking. That was hurt and fear making those decisions. Or I should say those were hurt and fear based decisions that I was making. And I think, like, that was just how I knew to protect myself at the time. And so I'm not judging myself for having done what I needed to do in the past to get to where I am now.
Yeah.
I'm in a good place. So I took good steps to get here, I assume. But what I will say is that I don't need to protect myself that way anymore. I've realized that a lot of the things that I wanted from my dad or either of my parents, like I can give myself now. I'm an adult.
Mm.
Those things that I needed as a kid, I didn't get from the adults that were in my life because those adults in my life weren't able to give it to me. It wasn't
Right.
anything about me as a person that made, like that was what I used to be mad at him because I used to think, oh, he thought that, I wasn't worth investment as a child
Right.
to pour in. That's not what he thought. He thought he was struggling with addiction, boo. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
that's it.
He wasn't, in his right mind. So he's kind of
Right.
somewhere else. He wasn't like, I'm purposely going to do this to affect Salenna and,
Right.
yeah.
And so once we can not take ourselves out of it because these are things that affected you, but once you take it away from being something that was done with personal intention towards you, I think that was the part that was angering me. Like I can never forgive him because he da 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 and da 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 da.
Yeah.
And who even knows if any of that was true, right? That was just something that I was telling myself in my pain. And then I had justified anger, which is what I needed to then be like, oh, I hate him and he isn't good for my life and I'm better off without him. But, who knows if any of that is true? All I know is what my life has been.
Yeah. Look at
And
that.
there's a level
man.
of acceptance that comes with that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's real. And, I'll say from a male standpoint, it's kind of strange because all those moments in life where you would want your father around, being a male, it was a lot of trial by error, right? Because part of me is like, well, I can't share this with my mom, I can't share that with my mom, such and such or whatever. So from dating to learning how to drive, just how you deal with the opposite sex, I was really trial by error, let's see what happens, let's see what this, and my excuse if something didn't work was, well, I didn't have anybody to teach me. Well, I had a good mom, but I didn't have a dad. So I had to get to a point where I'm like, is that gonna be my go-to when something doesn't work right, because I just didn't plan? But is that going to be my way to escape certain situations?
Yeah.
So what I had to learn how to do, and it took a long time, was I had to use that as almost like a superpower. I had to use that as a reason to kind of defy the odds. I had to say, okay, I'm not going to be another, statistic. I'm not going to be someone who's purposely acting out when I know better, but I'm just going to do it because I can say, well, that wasn't my style, right? So I'm like, you know
Yeah.
what? I'm going to defy the odds. And I see that with some of the young males that I will mentor and work with in the outreach work that I do. And some of them, I'll hear their story and I know they don't have a father figure in their life. And, I just talk to them one-on-one, like, look, I know you don't have a father figure, but that's not going to define you. That's not going to define you. Don't let that hold you back. It will only hold you back if you let it hold you back. Use that as a boost to, believe in yourself, get yourself together, and you could be an example for another young man or a young woman who doesn't have a father in their life. And it resents with them a lot because I always get the moms, they'll come up to me and say, you know what? You tell them the same stuff I do, but they listen to you, you know? And so, I mean, I think it's like the old saying, it takes a village, right? So one thing that I would like to see more of is men stepping up being men, not just looking at it like, well, that's not my biological daughter or biological son. I could care less. Nah, that's not it. That's not it.
Yeah.
These
Oof.
all of these children have had, like you were saying earlier, biological parents, whether you're involved or not. They're not just something to just overlook because it's not yours. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? That life that you save, you don't know how many lives that person's going to affect in a positive way in the future.
Yes.
That person that you overlook, that could happen to your daughter, that could happen to your son. So we need to stop being so selfish, looking at everything like it's not my job, it's not my
Mhm.
problem. We spend so much time on the internet, on our phones, which is cool, and a lot of it could be business oriented or for our own leisure. Great. But we can't act like sending a text message to your nephew, your niece, your best friend's kids every now and then, or going out to lunch, or just calling saying, how's it going? Or you looking at colleges? That means a lot because
Yeah.
sometimes you just want to feel like you're loved, you're accepted, somebody cares. Whether it's the coach at the rec center who lets you shoot hoops, whether it's the lady that you grew up with who always remembered your birthday and made you a pie, and all this stuff. Those things mean a lot. So I really think we need to get back to that. That love as a community. Like, let's not look down on this young man or young woman because they didn't have their parents. Both of their parents could be on some whole other stuff. Let's not make that their fault. That's on the
Yeah.
parents right there. Let's make sure that they're raised in a way where they can be, beneficial to the world and not repeat those same steps.
Yes. And let's not make that, their destiny. Like exactly as you're saying, like we'll have kids in our community and because of whatever their parents may have done, we're like already counting these kids out. They're
Right.
already ready to slip through the cracks or be thrown away. And it's just absolutely not the way of community. I'm hearing every single thing that you're saying, and I'm just like, yes, 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 yes
Mhm.
to every single thing of it because we have to understand that the fate of our community rests in the kids. So the investment that we wish we would have had when we were kids is the investment we need to have in the future generations.
Yeah.
And I particularly want to speak to people, peer to peer who do not have kids,
Yeah.
still care about kids.
Hmm.
Even if you don't have kids, care about kids. Even if you never want to have kids, care about kids.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the wellness of our children is the wellness of our community. And we really, really, really got to tap into to the babies. Like situations are getting crazy. Um, excuse me, let me not use ableist language. Situations are actually in dangerous
Yeah.
situations at the kiddos' schools with these guns, like y'all, whew,
Yeah.
we done had a scary incident up in Seattle just this week
Hmm.
with social media and threats being put out to the kids' schools. So we really need now more than ever to be tapping in, leaning in, and being support for the kiddos wherever we can. And I actually really appreciate you being, a man to say that because there is kind of an attitude of if this isn't my kid, then hold on, let's tell the truth. If this isn't my kid or I don't want to have sex with their mother, then I have no concern with that child.
Ooh-wee. You going down another? Come on, Celine, let's get it.
Okay, look,
Yes.
look, don't hate the player, okay?
No, man. I know you didn't create the game. I can't be mad at you. Yes. No, that's true.
Because I'm like, look, kids have value outside of that. And I mean, who knows how much that informed our, mother's decisions not to remarry, but I know my mama didn't remarry, so.
Yeah.
But we really got to have an honest investment in our kiddos. And I do agree that is a part of healing the father wound because, not every father can be there for their kids. Some fathers need support to be there for their kids. Consider fostering, y'all, because sometimes people just need a little bit of time to get themselves together and then be able to reconnect with their kiddo and
Mm-hmm.
rebuild that life. And so while adopting is definitely a thing, fostering allows for people to have that opportunity to get their kiddos back.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah. And
that's
even
really important.
and
Um,
even Or sorry, go ahead.
No, please.
No, you go. No, this is your show. I'm
Girl,
just.
girl, sorry, child. I'm a mess. I'm really just, speaking to the importance of the village. I was wrapping up my sentence already. That's why I told you. Please feel free.
Nope.
I'm serious. That's all I'm saying. The village is important. We got to tap into the kiddos.
Yeah. Yeah, that's important. And another thing, Salenna, is I think also not looking down on those who aren't in the position that we are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some of us have been blessed to have both parents in our lives, active, whether they lived under the same roof or, they lived in different homes, but they were nurturing, they were loving, they, raised us. And that's beautiful. But let's not look down on those who might have not had the ideal situation,
Absolutely.
because people can feel that. I mean, you feel it when you go into a new job and there's the person looking at you like, oh, so they're here now, like, and they don't know you. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? They don't know you,
No,
and they're
that's
just
so
gonna,
real.
right. So it's like, yo, let's not be those people. We can feel that energy. If I'm in a room with you, Salenna, and someone else comes in, and you and I, like, we cannot speak, but we could feel that energy if that person is kind of looking us like,
Mm-hmm.
really? You know what I'm saying? It's an unsaid language. We're like, oh, okay, they're uncomfortable that we're here for whatever reason, whatever their issues is, not ours but theirs.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we need to do a job of not holding certain things against other people because it might not align with our ideas of the perfect family or the perfect life or the perfect
Say
person.
that.
You hear about some jobs or schools that will have an issue with kids or young adults because of their hair.
Yeah.
you know, they have their hair natural or they have braids or dreads or whatever. And I'm like, I don't give a damn. Can they do the job? Is this kid a
Literally.
nice kid? Is this
Yeah.
adult bringing us in good numbers? Man, I don't care if they wear a Scream mask, the ghost of Scream, like,
Ghost
great.
face. Yeah.
Yeah, but what are they doing? Like, come on, man. Like,
Yeah. I mean,
we gotta
that's
be better.
real. And we can apply that same like level of criticism to fathers
Yes.
sometimes. Like
Yes.
if fathers who are trying, because as you're talking, I'm actually reflecting and I'm like, hold on, wait, but do we also do that with people too who
Mm,
we feel like are one thing, and if they're trying to be something different, maybe we make it harder for them to change that
mm.
or to show up differently. Because if I'm even thinking about and being honest with myself, all of my experiences with my dad weren't negative, but those are certainly the ones I think of the most.
Oh,
So
what, the negative ones?
the negative ones, yeah, that's the
Right.
narrative that I go with, and that's,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. Like, if I'm just
Hmm.
like really working with what you're saying, like we have to, in our plight to heal our father wound, I think it's important for us to acknowledge the duality that people
Mm.
are. Like, yeah, like maybe overall, maybe I wouldn't be grading this person an A in fatherhood, but we could certainly say that outside of his addiction, yeah, he was, he tried to show up and be a dad, I'm sure,
Yeah, he was still a man who, wasn't exempt from having faults like every single person in this
Right.
world. And it doesn't make my faults anything less because I can look down on him. You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, what
Exactly.
about my
Yes,
stuff, right?
exactly.
Celine, I wanted to ask you, as from where you're at, as far as you're not a mom biologically, but you are a mother of life. You're out there nurturing the others and
I
helping
do try.
raise people in our community. I know you, man. Listen, um, what would you say to those such as yourself who might have not had the best experience, but they're with their father, but they end up putting that pain on someone who might be the father to their child?
Mm.
Because
Oh,
sometimes there's good fathers out there and they're really trying, right? They're really trying, but they might be with someone or were with someone who had a lot of trauma from their father. So it's like they kind of take it out on that
Yeah,
father of their kid who's trying. So it's like, I don't know, is this a
it happens, look, it definitely happens. And especially on social media, I'll run into different situations where, and like, this is what, like, let me preface this by saying, like, we know, like, what I just discussed as the background of my
right?
knowledge of men. So when I come to situations like this, I'm not showing up to be like, oh girl, you better let that man see his kids or what have you. Like, I'm like, okay, sure, she not letting you see her kids. But sometimes she really ain't. Okay. Sometimes she's really emotionally immature. Sometimes she's actually using those kids as a tool.
Yeah.
And so I don't, I'm not saying that this is the common practice, but yeah, that does happen. And I think when it does, we really need to go back to like, what is our responsibilities as a person? Because is it your responsibility to deal with my triggers or is it mine? Ding, 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 it is my responsibility. So mama got to deal with her triggers. She really do, for the sake of those babies, because that is not her daddy, that is their daddy, right? And I think a lot of the time, and this also, I should say, I have a background in over 10 years of early childhood development. So I'm also not just saying this, like pulling it out of my ass to say it. I actually know how parental relationships affect, at least up through high school, the development of a child.
Right.
So I'll also say, y'all, if you are considering that divorce, do it before they turn 6. Now, when it comes to co-parenting and trying to like let somebody be that parent that they want to be, like I said, you have to deal with your own triggers around it, because we will become a barrier to healthy relationships that our kid could have with adults that care about them. And that could be their dad. That could also be aunts and uncles or, what have you. But you don't want to be a barrier to care for your child. And you don't want to be a barrier to a network for your child, because even as a child, your network is your net worth.
Yeah. Woo. Preach. Come on. Don't stop.
Look, and I'm not even trying, because look, there are men out there who are just telling they new girl that they baby mama not letting them see the kids, but she was letting you see them and you wasn't paying your child support either. So,
yeah, 100%.
But that we're talking about healing the father wound here. And yeah, there's absolutely a lot of guys out here who, either they did or didn't have an active father in their life, but they know what they want to do. And sometimes unhealed people will use that desire as a tool for manipulation. And that ain't cool or right.
That ain't cool. Tell them.
Yeah, because, again, it's for the children. How are we creating a village? And are we doing our part as adults in that village? I spend a lot of time crying for the little girl who didn't have adults around her who, for whatever reason, could or would stand up for her or provide different things for her because they couldn't. Right. But now I'm an adult. And so while I still want to cry for that little girl that I was, I have to say, wait, what children are in my life right now that I could be showing up for in the way that I wish someone showed up for me? And I really hope that, as we're all healing our father wounds, we can kind of shift into that way of thinking, because that's going to really be the next step. And that's going to be how we really address and break that generational curse.
Yeah. We have to remember that fathers get hurt too.
Yeah. And we got to humanize. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. You have no idea how wild this feels to say, but yes, you have to humanize your father. Like, it was so easy. Like, even when I started to realize, I was like, do I have a desire to forgive this man? Even like when I first thought that, I was like, oh, I was like, girl, you own one. Because where did this even come from? But it was after I started my self-love journey. It was self-love that led to me wanting to forgive my dad and wanting me to understand his plight more. It was self-love that led me to that.
Look at that. And Salenna, I think another thing to that is, like we're talking about earlier, not letting those type of things define you.
Mm.
I also have to think about, for what you went through and your mother and where you're at now, it didn't stop you. No, seriously, it didn't stop you. That's why we're here right now,
Yeah.
because you somehow along the way developed the strength and the mindset and the emotional intelligence to be able to be vulnerable and have this conversation now. So I wouldn't say that it wasn't a lot of negative energy that you experienced and a lot of self-doubt and, just curiosity about like why,
Mm.
but you didn't let that stop you. You know what I mean? You use that as strength. And I commend you for that. So out of that, you were able to make something positive by standing here in front of me, in front of your audience, being vulnerable and open to let someone else heal. So I have to salute you for that.
Thank you. And honestly, the same to you, David, because I think that us having such different backgrounds that we're coming from to heal is going to be huge for not only my healing, community who, is listening um when this airs, but
Right.
but for everyone in our community, because so often, my story is not uncommon. It's just not.
Yeah.
But your story is. And I think that we need to hear that story too. Because it's not just always, the black man who didn't love
Just
his
left his
family.
family and
Yeah, like sometimes it's the black man did love his family, but there's other factors that got in the way.
yeah, there you go. Man, thank you so much, Salenna. Thank you for this therapy session. I know I owe you. You can go ahead and send your invoice, and I
No, me
probably I
too.
probably can't afford to pay you, so I'd like to set up a payment plan right now. Use this video as evidence.
Yes.
Yeah, so when you start billing me and having that extra tax on there, extra all those fees, like you're going to a concert. I'm like, this was
Actually,
this.
though, we gotta
Uh
talk
huh.
about it. Therapy
Come
be
on.
expensive. But
Yes.
no, I really appreciate you and for the things that you brought to this conversation, not only as someone who is healing the father wound, but as someone who cares about the community, and you have such a perspective, such an analysis about the importance of pouring into our younger generations as well. Like, we need you. We need you on
Thank
that
you.
Seattle Connected platform. We need
Thank
you
you.
on all the platforms. We need you speaking to the men in our community. We need you speaking to the children, to all of us, because it's just so important that we understand how the ways that we are hurt contribute to the outcomes in our lives, whether
Man.
that's our relationships, our
Sheesh.
career,
Yeah.
it's all connected.
Yeah. Oh, I like how you do it. It's all connected. I might have to use that for my next reel with the past guests. But
Yeah.
yeah, thank you so much. And like I always
Yeah.
say, as long as people continue to support, I'm here. Even if you don't support, I'm still here, because community means a lot to me. Because community isn't just the now, it's the future. When you're
Yes.
gone and I'm long gone and my kids are long gone and their kids are long gone, community's still going to be there. So let's make some footprints while we're here. Salenna, I salute you and
Yeah.
everything you're doing. And I'm glad I got to work with you again. Hopefully, this isn't the
Me
last
too.
time.
Oh, I know
So,
it's not going to be the last time. Like,
right, please
we have we're too aligned in like our own personal missions to not
listen.
work together more.
Come
So
on
I
now.
really look forward to that. Is
Me
there
too.
anything else you would want to say about, you know, the, I guess, concept of healing the father wound?
Mm. I would say, I would use that analogy I used before we started recording. For those who are interested in healing the father wound, this didn't happen overnight. I would say this didn't happen overnight. So do not expect overnight results. If you reach out to your father, you know, realize that you're looking at years and years and years. And sometime you're looking at years before you're even born. So don't expect things to be all perfect with one conversation or one text or one visit, right? Number two, I'm not telling you to be naive. If you know it's not a good situation, you tried, cool. Sometimes it's good to love people from a distance. There's nothing wrong with that. So use common sense. Yes. Number three, have realistic expectations.
Yes.
So please have realistic expectations. Don't set your expectations too high. Just be realistic. I would say also understanding, right? You have to understand, like we said earlier, that you might find out some things that you might have not thought of in a million years and might shape your, thoughts of your father even lower into the ground. You have to be able to deal with that, right? Part of healing, like we said about the Band-Aid, you have to be willing to take that pain to be able to heal,
Yes.
And also I would like to say it's important to do the work ourselves as far as healing within ourselves, right? So a big part of it is if I want this person to heal, if I want this person to grow, I have to be willing to do the same. Okay. So I can't call this person out for not doing the work and I'm not doing the work myself. And also realizing that it's an ongoing process. This isn't something that we, do once a year, like, hey, look, I'm the absentee father. I came through. Everything's all good. That should buy me another 10 years. No, it's ongoing, just like us in our just day-to-day lives. It's ongoing. Life continues. We need to continue. So have the realistic expectations. Be willing to do the work on yourself and not just expect others to do the work, because then you're a hypocrite. And also, just knowing if it's a good situation or it isn't, if you give everything you can, that's all you can do. You have to be willing to give yourself grace. Don't beat yourself in the head if it doesn't turn out the way you want. If you're trying and this person isn't receptive, it's okay. You can go to bed knowing you gave 100% and it is what it is. And also, just came to mind, sorry, I'm just talking. Also, be open to help others heal. If you see someone in a situation where maybe they need to show a little grace to their father or father figure or the father of their kids, be willing to say, hey, all right, we know this person is less than perfect, less than the stellar father. Let's look at the other side of what might be the cause. Let's look at their journey that they had to cross. Let's look at the trauma that they might have had. And let's put all this into a pot and see if we can take out pieces and, figure this thing out together.
Yes, like taking the full picture.
Yes. And when in doubt, call Salenna Green. Don't laugh because it's the truth. Call Salenna Green. She does consultations for a pretty decent price. Call Salenna Green.
Oh my gosh. I appreciate it. But yes, y'all, get that healing. It's for you. It really is. Oh, and also, I will also say, just for a moment of transparency, I've also done all of my healing without contacting my father. So if you ain't there yet,
there you go.
Start with you. You know what I mean? Start with you. Maybe start asking other people about, your father and more about the things that you don't know. As David was saying, what happened before you got here. And remember, it's your journey. Okay. So
yours.
Make sure it's benefiting you.
That's right.
Y'all, wow. Oh my goodness. I think I may have actually healed during this conversation.
That's okay. That's what we're here to do. Come on now.
Yes. This was extremely powerful for my personal life. I really hope that somebody out here listening today got something from me, got something from David. I know I definitely got a lot from you, David. So thank you so much for coming onto the podcast today and for sharing your experience and your analysis here on the Hot Girls Healing Podcast.
Thank you so much. Once again, thank you for
David.
allowing me into your space. This was awesome. It's amazing. Please reach out for future endeavors, or if you just want to say hi, Salenna, I got you. If you ever need anything, please. So thank you so much
Thank
and continue
you.
to heal.
And Will, David, please tell the people where they can find you, connect with you,
Yes.
hire you, pay you.
Oh, I like that. Yes. I do. Listen, I do events. If you need a host, please talk to me. I'm very affordable. If it's for a certain charity cause, we can even work on a sliding scale. I'm out here. I got you. I could be connected at Seattle Connected 206 at Gmail. I'm always on it. So that would, yeah, Seattle Connected, stay connected. Please check out the podcast on YouTube. We're at, by the time you see this, we're at 84 episodes and counting. I'm out to highlight our Black and brown sisters in the community, business owners, or people out there just doing the work to help others better themselves. If you see me at an event, please say hi. I love meeting people and I love helping people. So please, like I always say, stay connected. And it's important to take care of others, but please make sure you take time to take care of yourself. That's my tagline.
Yes.
But please reach out. Thank you once again, Salenna. I really enjoyed this, and I'll see you around.
Thank you so much, David. Y'all, that was another episode of the Hot Girls Healing Podcast. I'm your host, Salenna Green, and you can join me on social media with the hashtag Hot Girls Healing and
Yeah.
hashtag Healing and Community, right? That's what we out here doing. You can follow me at the Hot Girls Healing Podcast on Instagram and TikTok. Other than that, I'll see y'all out there. Bye.
Bye.
Since I know you're tired, since I know you're stressed, you were always favored and you were always blessed. It's all about that. Hot girls healing. We doing it our way. Hot girls healing. We better day by day. Hot girls healing. We doing it our way. Hot girls healing. And it goes on and on. And when it all goes wrong, we'll celebrate so nothing's gonna hold us down. And it goes on and on. The healing takes long, but we are proud and strong. Nothing's gonna hold us down. Hot girls healing. Hot girls healing.